Welcome to the Friday night meeting of Keep It Simple. It is now with great pleasure and much gratitude that I introduce Theresa F., who will be sharing on the topic, the only condition is that we trust in God and clean house. Theresa, over to you, please.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hi, everyone. My name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober. I put my timer up there. Okay, multitasking as usual. Hopefully you can hear me. I was telling them this is street cleaning day, so I'm supposed to be in the car waiting for the street cleaner and the and the ticket guy to go around so I can jet out of my parking space. So it's fitting at a Cocaine Anonymous, and I'm going to be looking a little paranoid while I'm sharing. But trust me, I'm sober. So I'm going to be like ready to jet out. Willing to go to any lengths. I also have bronchitis, so let's see how this goes. Oh, Lordy. Okay. Thank you for inviting me. Welcome anybody who's new. Welcome home. Old timers, thank you for my life. I want to, talk about the topic you asked me to share on. I remember, and it came up, I was at another meeting, and an old timer was talking about the days when we were going through our literature and we didn't have it on our phones and PDFs and Google Docs. And if somebody told you to look for something, you had to read through the book to find it. You couldn't just type in the search and locate it, which helped to stay sober. And I remember they told me there's two conditions. What are they? I hope all this noise out here. I'm going to try to not tweak on that. Like, what are they? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, look for it. And I think that's like way in the back of the book. So I had to read the entire book looking for two conditions. And I recognized how helpful that was, that I had to read and read. I couldn't search. And there was something about that. So that's what I thought about, aside from the fact that they have burned into my consciousness that I need to clean house and trust in God. And certainly we hear then be of service, but really the continuation of this process of recovery is to continuously and constantly clean house and then turn to trust in a power. And that intuitively there's words that I would hear that the answers come if my house is in order, which means I need to get my house in order. That there's a continuum of constantly evaluating where am I from the inside so that now that can be reflection on the outside. And certainly I didn't come into the rooms, I can't necessarily say have the ability to do that. Before I came here, I didn't have an inside or an outside, actually. I'm born addicted. So let's see how I do this. I always invite people to listen to similarities and not the differences. And I tell you, every time I don't share how nervous I am, it just goes downhill from there. So I'm nervous. I'm uncomfortable. This is awkward. That somehow takes the power out of getting out of my head. Because every time I try to not say that, I'm trying to be cool, and I'm not feeling cool right now. Oh, Lord. I didn't have a lot of stuff going on in my head. I meet with sponsees every week, and we had a long discussion yesterday on the dynamics of the process of this recovery and how we come into the rooms and the relationship with alcohol and what it did to me and for me. And it's as though I've been raised here. I've had to be raised in the rooms. I had to start from a blank slate, like knowing nothing. And I think the advantage, I would say it's an advantage for me because I'm born addicted, and alcohol was given to me and drugs as I got older. And then certainly I began to experiment in my own way, as I grew up. But it was a state of being. My relationship with alcohol and drugs was my oxygen. It was my nutrition. It was considered normal because I drank and used in my home. It was fed to me as a baby, as a toddler, as I grew up. And so it allowed me not to see, not to hear, not to feel. I was a living, walking dead. I didn't know it. I dressed up my outsides like I was all about it. There was nobody home. Yet at the same time, when I hear from people that I grew up with that I did have a sense of kindness and consideration and laughter, maybe because I was always happy and feeling good. I'm not that mean drunk. I was caring. I was spiritual, worldly, intelligent, but I wasn't present for that either. I experienced physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, like such an abusive world. But yet I always had a smile on my face and all was well and nothing was wrong. I didn't know that I was dying on the inside. I didn't know, certainly my mother didn't know, this thing called an allergy. We have generations of our family. Generations. It's just interesting to me. It's still that way. I have family in New York, from New York and Puerto Rico. And we do the same thing in each island. I mean, why would I possibly think that anything is wrong with the way I was living if I was engulfed in this state of consciousness, this state of existence? Hence why I never considered that anything was wrong with the way in which I lived. I wonder sometimes why I never considered something to be wrong. Could I have gotten out? Could I have stopped in time? Perhaps. And yet at the other token I go, I wonder if I would have survived the first 24 years of my life without it. The level of degradation, demoralization, destitute, abandonment, discardment that I experienced, I don't know. I know that there are people who have gone through far worse than me, perhaps, and they didn't turn to substances to survive it. I don't know if I would have. And nor would I consider not living that life. There's something glamorous about that life, certainly as I got older. I always jokingly say to live like Michelle Pfeiffer and Scarface. We loved that movie Scarface when it came out. We watched it over and over again, and when it came on VHS, we would put a pile of cocaine on the table and, get loaded right along with them. And that was glamorous, go 70s, 80s, clubs, partying, something about all of that seemed perfectly fine. It's interesting when I look back, I'm like, but it wasn't. It's just fascinating to me. Thank God for sanity that we get restored here. Because when I look back, I'm like, there was nothing cute or glamorous about that, but you could not have told me. You could not have told me. All of my relationships were dysfunctional, abusive. And how do I end up here? How did I end up here? Cocaine Anonymous, I get to really share the dynamic of the normalcy of my drinking. There was I'm in the parking lot. There's a regimen that I began to have as I got older. My regimen, I'll say like my diet. I mean, my drinking using was so normal. I had a spreadsheet and I had line items for it. You know what I mean? It was like, it was on my spreadsheet. I was never in hiding. It was kind of like, need to have cocaine, marijuana. I had that on the list. Make sure we have enough money to cover that. I did it in my house, or fancy clubs. And the normal, okay, this is what I would do. And I'll tell you, thank God for good sponsorship, because I swore I wasn't an alcoholic when I got here. Because I remember telling my sponsor, I don't remember drinking a lot, using a lot. I sipped my drinks, I would sniff a little bit, take a couple of puffs, put it out. I remember I went to Al-Anon because I had a boyfriend, and I raised my hand and I said, my boyfriend is drinking all my liquor, smoking all my weed, and sniffing all my cocaine. Like, he got a problem. You know what I'm saying? And now I got to go get more, and I got to keep re-upping, Every time I turn around, it's gone. You know, like he's a hog. Like, what is this all about? And I always had to make sure that I had some and that the well never went dry and that I never ran out. And they would like keep coming back. And they were so kind. I was thoroughly upset. He was just, he was a vacuum. I don't know, it was a garage. I don't know what that was. And so I used to sniff a little bit, take a couple of puffs, take a little sip of some Cavassier, and chill. I did that all day, every day, whether I was working, whether I was in school, whether I was at home. You hung out with me at the bar and you swore I was a normal drinker. Everybody's chug-a-lugging. I'm looking at you like, what's wrong with you? I would pick up my cousins from the dope house in a limousine, put them in the car, tell them to smoke a joint, clean them up. Clueless. The insidiousness and the insanity of this disease and all of its manifestations. And how easy it is to compare someone who's in the gutter on a cardboard box thinking I'm not them, right? I look good, I smell good, I have some, I live in a penthouse, I'm good. Not knowing that I had Skid Row in my own house. And how much I relied and depended on needing something regardless of to the quantity and the amount that I took it. And it wasn't until, a lot of times I share, like, something happened to me at the age of 24. What ended up happening was, for some reason, I decided to smoke. And I used to sell, I'm the one that puts all the drugs on the street. And I came home, this guy took everything I owned, and I remember going, he didn't do nothing to me. And I went upstairs to the guys I used to sell to. I threw an 8-ball on the table and I told them to cook it up. And I remember I helped a friend of mine, I'm the godmother to her son because her first baby was a crack baby, and cleaned her up and made sure she, it's so crazy. Never say never. You know what I mean? I would never do that. And there was a guy begged me not to do it. I told him to mind his business. And that to me really introduced me to my disease. Perhaps at this time, the regimen that I was doing was no longer working, but at the time I wasn't really aware of how ineffective it was. And we talk about the progression of this disease and how easy it is. I've tried all kind of things, mushrooms, acid, go to the movies and trip out, but did not know that I was going to fully venture into this place of understanding what happens with this phenomenon of craving that takes you to a whole other level. And within 6 months, I had sold everything, lost everything. And I know many people smoke for years, and I was cooking it up. That was hell. I don't know how to describe this to y'all, but what ended up happening was that thing gave me a heartbeat. And I had been living without a heartbeat, in a coma. The Walking Dead, dressed up. And all of a sudden, I became present for my experience. I was now awake and aware, and it was short-lived. That thing takes you up, and then you crash hard. And no matter what I did so I could stay up, it wasn't working. And now it got scary. And I remember this guy told me, you want to play baseball? The one that told me not to do it? Then you're going to experience how we roll up in here. And he made it a living hell. The rules, the game that most people take years to learn, he gave me an accelerated course. And now I'm hanging out with people who all of a sudden we at a table and then somebody's naked in the closet. I don't know. There was way too much going on. The paranoia, and I couldn't get a grip. It was taking the best of me. I didn't know. And I've always been in the world of spirit, and I would see spirit guides, and that was my little happy place. And that world of spirit got dark. It was demonic. The energy, the things I saw, it was horrible. Every time I think about it, I start having anxiety. It was absolutely horrible. I don't think that's fun. There was nothing cute about that. I remember my dad did like a spiritual cleansing on me. We did like a whole cleansing. And I had to wear white for 10 days. I was going to the dope house. 2:00 in the morning. Everybody was like, who invited her? You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't get us in trouble. I was like, don't worry. I look like a decoy. gonna think I'm doing anything wrong if I'm walking around looking all saintly, going in an abandoned building. I would be so paranoid. People hated hanging out with me. I would be so paranoid. I walk around with a Lysol can. It was horrible. Every time anybody threw out a puff of smoke, I was spraying. That's not fun. I'm sorry, guys. I liked it when, even though it appeared glamorous, at least it appeared glamorous. There was nothing glamorous. I now looked all sucked in. I couldn't get cute anymore. Couldn't fix my hair. Couldn't bathe. My grandmother would get frustrated because I would go take a shower and come out funkier than I came in. Look, I'm sorry, y'all. Everybody was like, what's happening to you? I was like, I don't know. I want to get my life back. I want to get my life back. And I couldn't. I couldn't go back to that regimen. I couldn't go back to that regimen. And I became present for my experience. And I think that's a game changer, y'all. It's something to do incomprehensible, demoralizing things when you don't notice. It's another thing to notice and can't do nothing about changing it. Can't do nothing about covering it up. I can no longer act as if. There is no more performances in the show. And I couldn't go back in a coma. And I didn't know how to live like that. I didn't know how to live like that. Pregnant on my fourth child, that baby is doing strange things to me. Most of my babies fall out in toilets and floors. It was very strange. It was horrific. And I remember I owed 2 kilos. That's my uncle. I had never done that. One of my uncles came to see me and said, what you doing? You know you're in trouble when the good guys and the bad guys are looking for you. You're putting baking soda on the street. You're making us look bad. I don't know what you're doing. I was like, I don't know either. I had eviction notice on my door. They came. I was like, who's the marshal? Who's Marshall? I don't know Marshall. Marshall. They were like, girl, that's the marshals. And it's interesting that there are moments even in my sobriety day that I go back to that place when life gets really hard, that I think about that pivotal moment when death seemed to be a luxury. When death seems to be the only viable option to escape the torture of the impetuating doom of needing another, but yet the other does nothing but create more for another, but doesn't take me anywhere that I really want to go. That's torture. And to invite death in my life and death want nothing with me was horrific. And I went to see him and tell him I don't have his money, I ain't got his dope. I knew I had a contract out for me. Take me out, man. And was that an act of providence? Was that when the act of providence happened? I told his boys and he never came to take me out. And as a matter of fact, they threw me out. And I did that aimless walk. Where do you go? Where do you go? What road do I take in such a state? It's beyond restless, irritable, and discontent. I like those words, bewilderment. You know what I mean? And I ended up in a church. So on Parsons Boulevard in Queens. When I do go to New York, I do that walk because I do find that interesting that it's not a straight line. I don't know how I ended up in that church. It's not a straight line from where I was. And I felt the presence in the church and I said a prayer that's different and I asked that whatever was there to allow me to feel the peace that I felt in that church inside of me. And I'll tell you, at the time, I wasn't sure if anything was listening to me and I wasn't sure what I was asking for. I do believe that that's where the gift of desperation and the wind of the grace of God collide with one another. In seconds and inches, I think Albie used to say that, right? Probably seconds and inches, I could have missed it. And I had no idea that prayer was going to change my life. Catapult me 3,000 miles and went to my father, asked him for help, and come 3,000 miles to California on a Greyhound bus. And it's because we have a tradition of attraction rather than promotion. My cousin just celebrated. She's 4 years old. I'm 35 years sober. She's 39. My mother was sober. And I remembered you guys. And I saw my cousin. She used to, we call it tecato, she used to speedball. Mommy was a drunk, but she found my mother in Venice Beach eating out of garbage cans. And I remember seeing them when I came to visit in California, and there was something different about them. It's almost like how Bill saw Ebby. There was something about him that was different. And whatever that was they were doing, I don't even know if I could use the term inquisitive. I'll use the term more the state of desperation. And I came here, my mother dropped me off in the rooms and left me here with you. And I knew nothing. That's why I say perhaps that's to my advantage. I came with what old ideas. Even the way I had been living, I didn't even know what that was. I had not been living at all. No matter how glamorous it appeared, I had always been walking as though I was a human doing, never a human being. And I did not know how to live, period, without my oxygen. And I didn't know what you guys were going to teach me, show me, or do for me. But I knew it was better than, unless you're going to take a gun and blow my brains out, I didn't know what else could be better. What worse could you do to me? And they began to spoon feed me this process. And in a way, they taught me through their example, through their sharing, how we clean house and trust in God. If we look at the crux of the two conditions, the moment we come in, we start talking about this relationship with alcohol and cocaine and all that it's done and all of its devastation for the newcomer so that they can identify a message that only you and I can give one another. A message that only you can transmit to me. No one else could have explained it to me other than you explaining it based on your own experience for me to see how it matches mine. And somehow it leaves me open to listening as opposed to you telling me what's wrong with me. And my disease rejects it immediately to defend myself. Or ego refuses to let you tell me about me. But something happens when you just talk about you. And I can hear. I still do that today. Sometimes people start going, you. I don't hear you anymore. I don't know what that's about. As soon as they say, go, you, I'm like, you don't know me. You know what I mean? You talk about you. I go there just talk about me. Are you talking about you? And you can say the same thing about yourself. And I'm like, yep, me too. Isn't that interesting? Yep, I did that too. And I was like, you guys say there's an illness? You mean I'm not incapable, retarded, all these negative narratives that I told myself? You mean to tell me that this is beyond me? Nothing that I can fix on my own? That I can't just pull myself up from the bootstraps? I have an outstanding resume. I have an outstanding education. What are you talking about? Why can't I get this thing together? Because you can't. Just like any other illness. I've sat with many people. I've been a caregiver for 20 years now. And I've sat across a lot of tables at a doctor's office for people being told they have Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes. And each and every one of them are disappointed, angry, and shocked. So it doesn't mean any other illness that we go, oh, yay, I'm an alcoholic and addict. That's awesome. What? That means it's a game changer. My life is now about to be altered and changed. The life as I understand it and know it. But the difference between them, what's the treatment? What do I have to do for preservation of life? And I think the only interest they have in that is because they have a life that they want to preserve. I came to you with a life that I didn't care if it was destroyed. I wasn't worrying about dying. I was worrying about living. And so the attraction that you showed to me was that if we treat this, that living just might not be so bad. And that was attractive. That perhaps living is different in a way that I had never understood that living could be possible. That there is freedom and joy and happiness and compassion and kindness and purpose and meaning. as opposed to the life that I kept trying to stay away from. That something happens different here. And that all I have to do is follow some simple rules that is challenging for complicated people. You have who's that mini? Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple, stupid. How difficult it is to keep something so simple, right? When I have to think about it, figure it out, because I'm so used to running my life and, you know what I mean, and strategizing and figuring, no, follow the black on the white. Anytime I went to old timers, they used to be, I think that's the problem. I love how Marcy came to me and told me I had a beautiful light inside of me. I just need a clean house. That's what she told me. I need a clean house. That's all I needed to do was clean house and trust in God. And I believe this woman, Marcy, a total stranger, that told me I wasn't made out of junk, that I was somebody. And it fascinates me that I believe this woman saying something contrary to what I had always heard. And I wanted to discover what she saw. And she made it clear, and you made it clear that it was inside of me. That all my life I reach outside of myself looking for satisfaction and fulfillment and always coming up short. And that my higher power was alcohol and drugs, and it was not sufficient. It could not take me that further than I wanted to go. But there was some power that lied inside of me that can be sought through the simplicity of the 12 steps. And this process of going inward is going to be scary, and it's awkward, and it's unfamiliar. But it's the best thing that I can possibly do. So I learned to do the uncomfortable until it became comfortable. You didn't ask me to do anything you weren't doing. I was attractive to the point that I wasn't anybody's pet project, or nobody was out to do anything to me or get me. Everybody did it for themselves. There was something about that I liked. I was thinking, I had shared the other day about prayer and meditation, and I was thinking, reflecting on these religious people are right. I remember, and I seen similarities when I came here. I remember my aunt used to sit down and read the Bible to me, and I saw her enthusiasm and excitement. She was Jehovah's Witness. I know a lot of people got issues with that, but I respect her, man. She was unvarying, faithful, and devoted. And she would just read, and she would read for her fulfillment, her peace, her belief, her devotion, her faith, and I would watch her. And I don't remember saying, I want to do it, and I like it, and you're doing something to me, but I saw that in her. And then I reflected on that when I was in my sober living, and I had Leon Strange, Michael Oliver, and Leon Strange, Michael, and Ronnie W. Ronnie, he came a few times, Kim tells me, and they were going through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with the same in passion, devotion, faithfulness, and enthusiasm. And it wasn't for me to get it. It wasn't for them to fix me. It wasn't for me to give them kudos. They did it because their life depended on it. And there was something about that I liked. I don't know if you call it reverse psychology. It was more like you do whatever you want to do, but this is what we doing. And this is life-changing, life-transforming, and I will do everything I possibly can to share it, to talk about it, to transmit it, because the more that I do it, I know in return it's going to help me. I like that, y'all. I digged it. Line by line, word by word, breaking it down. And I remember my grandma, sorry, I got to play salsa huepa. I love it. Anyway, I don't know if y'all hear it, playing salsa. I remember my grandmother died when I was 6 months sober. She was everything to me, my abuela. Oh my God, I love my grandmother. And I went back to New York. And when I came back to California, I stopped talking. It was as though I died with her. It was as though they put me in the ground. And when I returned here, I said nothing. I couldn't talk. I didn't know how do you process an emotion that you never identified. And they would still sit in that living room. It gets me. They would sit in that living room and they would go through that book, and they never asked me to say anything. They didn't try to get me out of whatever state I was in. They just allowed me to be. And they kept doing what they were doing. And then I remember we got into the chapter to the agnostics. And I would have my head down. And it was only me and somebody else. It was only Kim and I that used to go, and none of the girls wanted to come. And I remember I put my head up and I was like, that reminds me of my dad. And they were like, she's back. They were like, yay, welcome. You know, those little moments are so special. Like, you taught me to just be, that this too shall pass. I don't have to fix anything or change anything. I just got to keep showing up and doing the work. And you gave me commitments, and I began to clean house. And they gave me a sponsor, and they walked me through, and they gave me a working knowledge of the steps in this book and taught me how to incorporate them in my life, that they're tools designed for living. It wasn't homework or exercises. I didn't even have to intellectually understand them, grasp them, get them. I didn't have to do any of that. I just had to do them. I didn't have to get it. Not like that. Self-knowledge serves me nothing. I could take all the notes all day long. What am I going to do with that? What is that going to do for me? Do I go back and read it and do it? What are we doing with them? And I know some people needed to remember, I'm a student, right? Yeah, okay. But no, how do I go out and live this thing? How do I, oh my God, I'm so sorry. We got the dog attacking. Oh, like, how am I going to do this thing? And I practice through sharing it with you. I practice through asking people with time. I call, I pick up a pen and a paper, and that's how we clean house. It's kind of like, I know I hear people say I'm powerless over people, places, and things. I don't know. I'm powerless over my alcoholism, over my disease that tells me I have power over people, places, and things. And I need to be restored to sanity to be told that no matter what I do, I ain't got no power, but I need one. And I decide to obtain one. And know that there is one and it ain't me. Call it whatever you want to call it. Group of drunks. I don't care what you do. But don't go around thinking you're running anything, because let's start gathering up evidence to find out that you've been thinking you've been running stuff, but you ain't been running nothing. And what God have I been playing anyway? I was telling my sponsors that yesterday. What God have I been playing? The First Testament God? Like, I'm just trying to figure out what God I've been playing. That's trying to control and manage and punish and be jealous and burn people to hell? Like, what kind of God was that? Wait a minute. Can I find a power that is infinite, that is loving, that is kind, that can help to change me, to mold me? It's a collaboration. It's a partnership. It's an invitation. This is the higher power, the Alpha, the Omega, the creator of all things, the heaven and earth, to the insect and the atoms, gave me something called free will. I have basic living instincts of sexual instincts, emotional stability, physical stability, sex conduct, companionship, and they go awry. They're natural instincts that have gone awry. How do we get balanced out? I got to go inward and see what's keeping me from that. What is blocking me? My sponsors say from my authentic self. From the trueness. Really, everything else was a lie. All these narratives. From my authentic self. And it's going to take some uncovering, discovering, and discarding. I always remember I was at a meeting. I always remember this woman said, I want to talk to a scientist because I want to know how many freaking layers there are to an onion. When am I getting to the core, yo? And that everybody's a reflection in a mirror. And I'm constantly asking myself, and I appreciate the fact that I could just be a human being for once. In my brokenness and in the changes that I make, that I get to surround myself. My sponsors say you're entitled to surround loving and supportive people. Just let me be. Thank God we're not all crazy on the same day. We all miss Speaker 35 years, and I fart, and I hurt, and I have wounds. I'm an alcoholic that sometimes goes through the lenses of life, wondering why, how, who, when. I still this little girl sometimes. I just want to be loved and accepted and appreciated. Sometimes I just want life to be easy, and it isn't. I don't apologize for my relationship with God today, and I don't apologize for being human. I can get so caught up. It's almost like everything is great. Life is fantastic. Just like when I was out there drinking and being numb. I'm so well. All is well. I'm okay. Dying on the inside. Dressing up my outside. Smiling when I'm not. It's okay to not be okay. What I have to be mindful of is not to fall out of self-pity and depression and engulfed by fear and resentment. That's disease, it's poison, it steals, it robs me. It robs me from what? From doing what I need to do so that once I clean house, the answers come when my house is in order. So I can have an intuitive thought and inspiration, my internal GPS. So it can make me useful, purposeful, contribute something to life. That in all situations, in all circumstances, somehow, some way, I can learn, I can teach, I can do better. I've learned to be a sister, a daughter, a friend, a partner, a neighbor. I've taken care of my abusers. I gave them compassion and love and understanding, everything that I ever wanted from them. You taught me how to give it to them. They all died with dignity, with grace and integrity, with compassion and with love. My house was clean. I didn't do it out of malice. I did it with love. My mother stretched my spiritual muscles and taught me how spiritual I wasn't. I thanked her for that. We're in the world to play the role that God assigns. And I remember I got caught up thinking that I was those roles, other than just a child of God who needs to just clean house and be of service and help God's children. And it was painful because I was like, wait a minute, I'm a daughter. That's right. Then both my parents died. Okay, wait a minute. Who am I now? Oh, I'm a sister. That's right. I'm a sister. My brother died. I took care of all of them. Watched them all took their last breath. Wait a minute. Hold on. Where you going? I'm a sister. No, you're in the role that I assigned. Oh, I'm an aunt. And my brother died. Their mom came and took them. Get away. Nope. Okay, wait a minute. I'm confused. Who am I? It's through cleaning house that I get to uncover, discover, and learn about me. Oh, why I still get caught up in this and what you think about me. That's new for me. I know I've always concerned, have some level of pride, but man, I've been like, why am I so worried about what other people think about me? That is so uncomfortable, and it's something I cannot live up to. Am I back to I just want to be accepted and loved? To me, that's what's cleaning house about. I get to ask myself questions I don't otherwise ask myself. As opposed to looking at you the problem, the situation's the problem. What does that have to do with you? Where is God in this for you, Theresa? What is blocking you from this relationship with a power that will unfold what is necessary for you to move forward in every given area of your life, whether you like it or not, whether you understand it or not? But I will grow. And a lot of times I tell God, I swear this better help somebody. I know I did not go through this just to be going through it. I'm not a victim of circumstance. This is going to help somebody. This is going to make a difference in somebody's life. I remember coming back from Minnesota in a snowstorm. My brother, we lived in seminary, and I got his whole life packed in the U-Haul in this Jeep in a snowstorm. And and I was like, am I the cause of my own problems? Because I have done something differently. And I was like, I swear, God, this better help somebody. I swear. There's no way I'm going through all this just to be tortured. And I've been ending on this lately. Although God is a show-off, He's done so much with me. I've watched something happen to Theresa. But this has been true for me until it changes. I've been saying, I hear people say God does stuff without my permission. It says we let God discipline us in the simple way we've outlined. What it does say later is I will suddenly realize that God is doing for me what I cannot do for myself. But there's a participatory action that I need to take. When I show up for school, I just started school. I'm taking my master's in humanity. I need to read the textbook. I need to do the work. And I'm going to watch God show off and show out. When I graduated last year, I put on my cap, I did my best and God did the rest. You know what I mean? But I need to do my best. But I do believe God requires my permission. Whether God will do stuff for me, whether I'm aware of it or not, I need to be aware of God's presence in my life. And that I am a willing participant in an agreement with God's will for me. And so a lot of things that I shared with you has been taken away from me without my permission. But there's one thing that I've been given. It's grace. And this gift of God is my sobriety, and that's mine. Friendships are taken away, houses are taken away, cars are taken away, job or no job, house or no house, relationship or no relationship. We stay sober no matter what. My sobriety is for me to preserve, to polish, to nourish, expand upon it, take care of it. It is mine to give away, and it's only I who am going to throw it away. And I don't know how I can go back to that life knowing that this one exists. Tomorrow's another day. But if I go back to the dope house, I don't know what that's all about. To me, the torturous thing is that I'll be in there and I'll never be able to make it back to you, knowing that there's another way to live and I can't even get back to you. And I'm still not getting loaded? I don't know, y'all. That don't sound fun to me. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep coming back. I'm a clean house, trusting God, and go help God's children. If nobody told you they love you today, I truly, truly do. Thank you for doing the 12-step call on me today.